Welcome to DigitalK.
My name is Tobin. I'm from 72andSunny in Amsterdam. Just to be clear, I have a 30-minute presentation and a 20-minute slot, so I'm going to go super fast. But I hope that you'll come find me the next couple days or send me an email. I'd love to chat. So 72andSunny, we have 5 offices. Los Angeles is about 500 people. Amsterdam, New York, about 200. Sydney and Singapore are relatively new. They're about 30 people. It is never 72 and sunny in Amsterdam. It is more 48 and rainy. But this is supposed to symbolize the optimism of our company as a whole. We have 31 different nationalities in our Amsterdam office. And so obviously, practically, from a business point of view, that helps us working globally and within markets. But also, we really strongly believe that our creative and our output depends on different points of view and different people and different experiences. So we probably do our best work with brands that need to pivot or shift to go after either an opportunity or just keep up with their market. We do a lot of work with Adidas, including the World Cup work last summer. So that's all around the Here to Create campaign, which is about celebrating creativity in sport. We rebranded Axe a few years back from something that was more like a spray and get laid type of messaging to something hopefully a little bit more mature, which was our Find Your Magic campaign, which says that what makes you different and unique is ultimately what makes you attractive. We've done a lot of work with Smirnoff through the years, and that's the We're Open campaign, which is diversity and inclusion. So it's a pretty boring category. So how do we put Smirnoff into more interesting conversations? And then we've done a couple big transformation campaigns and projects with Ikea as far as some of the move that they're making as a company in a different direction, including Ikea Place, which we'll talk more about in a little bit. So we believe we're in a very unique position as a company. We're at this nexus of a lot of different things, verticals, categories, et cetera. The world, of course, is changing. Rate of change is accelerating, but we're starting to see kind of a weird landscape start to form. Maybe weird's a wrong word. Unique landscape. We learned stuff on Google that we might apply on Adidas. We learned stuff on Axe we might apply on Uber. And so we're sitting in this middle space, and we're kind of able to learn from different problems and solutions and apply them across several of our brands. This is actually a slide from something that we're doing with Ikea right now. Originally, the project came to us as more of a design brief, which was around trademark optimization, which sounds horribly, horribly boring until you realize that Ikea hasn't changed until like a week or two ago, hadn't changed their word mark and their logo and their colors since 1983. So obviously, some things have happened since then. So when we first started working on this project, it became obvious super quickly this wasn't about changing some pixels or adjusting kerning. This was about where is Ikea going to be in 10 years, and 20 years, and 30 years? How do we make sure that this word mark, that this visual is able to flex and evolve with Ikea as they're evolving as a company? Our IP as a company is not the deliverables that we put out. It's actually our ideas that we're able to point in all sorts of different directions. So we see advertising not as really advertising. Of course, we do a lot of traditional advertising, but what's really exciting and kind of like a growth mindset for us as a company is we can point our ideas. We can point in all these different directions and touch points and platforms and potentially make way more impactful work creatively, strategically. And we do that, of course, by better understanding the consumer journey. There's not really, I'm sure I could debate with several of you in this room right now, there's not as much of a purchase funnel anymore. You're not really driving your consumer to a direct point of sale. There's actually a series of points of decision along the consumer journey. So it's like, how do we figure out what those are? How do we understand consumer behavior? How do we get our brands into conversations at the right point? What is the right content to be making at that point? This is a much more comprehensive and complex way of approaching marketing and communication. And I apologize for putting the hype cycle in a deck in 2019. But we are seeing more and more of this as far as our work, especially with some of our more innovative brands. So Google, Klarna, Uber, Ikea. They're not coming to us with performance briefs. It's not like sell more stuff. It's how do you get people to the point of adoption? How do you get people to a place where they try something, hopefully like it, change their behavior enough for them to adopt whatever new innovative thing you have? So you could have the greatest innovation in the world, and if people don't use it, you don't have a product or service. You don't have a business. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about place, some fun stuff we did with Axe, and something around AI and machine learning that we're doing out of our Amsterdam office. So Ikea wanted to do their first standalone augmented reality app. When they came to us, it literally looked like this. And they were in a 3-month sprint to try to hit the release of iOS 11 and ARKit, and they asked, could we work together to come up with what would we call this product? What's the story around it? And most importantly, how does it align with like the bigger trend of where IKEA is going as a company? So we started the first place most things with IKEA Start, which is with their mission statement, which is to create a better everyday life for the many people. This is probably one of the reasons why IKEA is so successful. You can see it working with them, big decisions, small decisions, they all sort of line up with this mission statement. And they're a super successful company, of course, but as you can see, they still have a ton of the many people to reach. So they still have a lot of their mission left to do. Tricky part is that some of their traditional markets, North America, Western Europe, Australia, leveling off, even slowing down in some cases. So the emerging markets are Latin America, China, Indonesia, but these are huge geographical spaces. You'd never be able to build enough big blue stores to reach all those people. So how can you use technology to reach more of the many people? There's also this thing where we as humans are moving into cities. That counters the typical IKEA use case where a family gets in the car, they drive out to the suburbs, they go to the big store, they do some shopping, they get in an argument, they eat a hot dog, they drive home. That isn't really a growth use case for IKEA. So how can they use technology to, again, continue to reach their consumers where they are? And then also there was just ARKit, AR Core. So now hundreds of millions of devices have AR capabilities on them. So the time was right for IKEA to say, okay, this lines up with our purpose. This lines up with reaching the many people, because now the many people have access to AR. So we started by naming it. We named it Place because it was synonymous with home. We also like the idea of placing things in augmented space. For those of you who haven't downloaded the app, check it out. But this is sort of the UI of it. Like most things IKEA, it's very simple on the front end, but there's a ton going on in the back. So like if you go in an IKEA store, everything seems really simple and laid out, but there's actually a lot of logistics that goes into making it that simple. One of the things I really, really like about the app and the way that we set it up is that second screen there is the first thing you see when you first open it. So we drop users into a chat thread. So for a lot of people, this might be the first time that they've ever used AR. So we put them in somewhere super familiar. They get the need to know information on how the thing works. And then we smooth them out into basically placing things in AR. So it takes something that could be, a pretty complex technology and really demystifies it right from the beginning. So we made a film as one piece of our bigger launch campaign. I think what's important in this film is we tried to, of course, say, hey, this product's amazing, but also to make a point of the why. Like, why is IKEA doing this? And I think I might need some help playing this.
Hey, IKEA would like everyone to know about Place, our new augmented reality app. Built on Apple's new AR kit, you can easily place true-to-scale 3D models of IKEA furniture in your place. Scan, browse, select, move, and place. So that could mean less of this. And less of this. And probably more of this. We want to make it easier for people everywhere to imagine a better place. Share this place and this place. Try Place in your place.
Yes! So that's actually the director screaming at the end. We shot in this tiny little house in East London, and so he had a monitor in a different room, and so when he'd get the characters, the talent in the right position, he'd go, yes! And so we were like, okay, we got to put that in the film. Pretty interesting launch. The thing that really jumped out and was most unexpected is that 4-minute of average user time. That's not a mistake. That was for real and very, very, very curious. A few months after launch, we worked with the design team in Almholt, Sweden, to come up with 4 holiday trees. And the thing was, throughout the place work, we were really bouncing around this idea of playful utility. So how do you continue to make something but also communicate something that's fun but also useful? And we thought these trees was a really good way of showing, this is not just about a one-trick pony. It's not just about dropping some furniture. There's all sorts of things that this platform and this product could become. I think in the 3 weeks that this was out before Christmas, something like 250,000 augmented trees were dropped. So that's pretty fun. A few months after that, so this would be April of last year, Android launched AR Core. So AR was then available on Android, and Ikea Place came out. For this, we leaned really heavily into the playful side of things, and we made a campaign built on the insight of the dreaded Ikea fight, which is where couples go to Ikea and they can't agree on things and they get into horrible arguments. And so we wanted to, almost tongue-in-cheek, show how Ikea Place could save relationships. So we made a series of little game show episodes that are too long to play today, but you can check them out on YouTube. They're called Mattress Keepers. So what's left? I mean, obviously Ikea has built something that's potentially very significant. Partnerships, also to putting out product lines in augmented reality before they're available in real life. That gets really interesting. Ikea is a very conscientious company. They know that they put out a lot of paper every year. So how can this potentially be part of this digitization strategy of getting away from that paper? And then feedback loops. Apologies for the complicated slide, but this is that 4 minutes. There's so much information that a company like Ikea can get if their consumer is basically playing with their product for 4 minutes. So just right off the bat, you could say, oh, look, in this market, everybody's placing this yellow couch. We should put the yellow couch more prominently in our stores. And where this goes to is that idea of the consumer does something, brand reacts, consumer reacts to brand, that feedback loop tightening and accelerating. And you start to see with this sort of technology where that consumer-brand relationship is going to be going. And that's a completely different presentation. Shifting gears, Axe is one of our clients. In the UK, Axe is known as Lynx. And in the UK, there's a comedian named Michael Deepak. He has an alter ego named Big Shaq. Big Shaq put out a song called Man's Not Hot. I hope you're following this. It was very hot on YouTube. And in the song, he references Lynx. And so we thought, that's interesting. We should probably do something with this. And we ran excitedly to the client, and they said, we don't have any money. So what happened was...
I'm the talking Big Shaq Lynx can. I'm here to tell you the story of how I came to be. First, Big Shaq's Man's Not Hot video comes out. He says,
perspiration ting, spray that. Lynx effect. Come on. You didn't hear me, did you?
Did he just say Lynx effect? We have to do something. Then we see this interview.
Lynx better come and holler at me still. Got the whole world saying Lynx effect. Where's the effect on my check? Where's the effect on my bank balance?
Let's send him something.
You get me?
A Lynx can. A talking Lynx can. A Lynx can that can make his sound effects.
Pop, pop, cat, cat, cat.
How do we make that? Have this guy do it.
Skitty pop, pop.
Okay, so can you do it?
Okay, here I go.
Great.
Components. Audio. Circuit.
I don't know.
The speaker.
Can is done. Here you go. Big Shaq, hope you like it. Send it.
Oi, are you lot seeing this? Oi, are you seeing this? Watch this.
Lynx effect.
Oh,
Pop, pop, cat, cat, cat.
forget it.
Skia.
Oh,
Skia.
oh,
Boom, boom.
He likes it. And so do they. Big Shaq has a new video out. Maybe we can do something for that. Maybe we already did something for that.
Do, cook, cook, dum, dum. Pum, pum.
So that wasn't expected. That kind of changed things as far as what the conversation was, because that was one of the biggest things that market had ever done, that client had ever done, and we spent next to no money on it. So we thought, well, let's explore this a little bit more. And so during the World Cup last year, we made a can that was similar that we sent out to 10 of our markets who had teams in the tournament. So every time they scored, they could spray the can on social and hear... You get the idea. That goes on for about 20 seconds. This has then evolved off of those two things into a proper big-time North American campaign that hopefully is going to come out very, very soon. And that came around the idea of the insight of the overeager axe sprayer. You probably know this person. You might be sitting next to them. We thought, what if there was what if we had a can that when you sprayed for too long, it would say, whoa. And then if you kept spraying, it would say, whoa, whoa. And if you kept spraying, it would go, whoa, 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 and then lock you out for 24 hours. And so we shot this whole film. And, this is a tale as old as time, overeager axe sprayer, distraught family and friends. These scientists from Unilever come in and save the day by developing the WoCan. Everybody's happy. So I wanted to play this. It's not out yet, but should be coming out soon. It's a really fun film. And we actually made these things. So we're going to send 10 of these out to influencers in North America when the campaign goes live. As you can see, the hardware has gotten a little bit better since the first version of this. So where do we find the people to do this sort of stuff? Because it's not traditional advertising. It's weird to even call it advertising. It's weird to say we're an ad agency. It's more and more of our work is evolving into these totally different spaces. It's like how do you communicate? In order to do that effectively, you need people who have a whole breadth of skill sets and experiences and different things and ideas that they can bring to the table. So something that we tried out of our Amsterdam office was this tech residency. At the end of the year, last year and into this year, we solicited proposals from a lot of people who wouldn't typically fall into advertising. So we had a chemist, a game engine engineer, a couple data scientists, computer scientists. The best proposal we got was from a woman named Alice Stewart. She's a creative technologist and computer scientist. And her idea was, could we use AI and machine learning to improve the tattoo idea process? So how human beings come up with what tattoo they should get. Because her thinking was that the internet is making us lazy and generic. And what we end up doing is we go and we do a Google search. We find a random tattoo we like. We print it out. We take it to the tattoo parlor. And we say, can you just copy this on my arm? And that's not how it used to be. It used to be you had something happen in your life or you wanted something, you'd go down to the tattoo artist, you'd work together, you'd come up with something very meaningful that you'd put on your body. And so in a way, the underlying message of this project is can we use technology, can we use machines to bring something more human, more meaning into something that is very personal, like getting a tattoo? So we started with Alice started with a data set of over 1 million tattoos that she was able to publicly get from the nice people at the Florida Department of Corrections, which is the Florida prison system. Why the Florida prison system has 1 million of their prisoners' tattoos available online, I don't know. I'm from California, that's Florida. But so we used it, and in this data set, it had a description of the tattoo, it had the prisoner's date of birth, and it had where on the prisoner's body the tattoo was. So what we were able to build was this prototype where you would plug in a different zodiac sign, and it would basically generate a different tattoo idea and where on your body it would come from. So that was our proof of concept, but obviously we wanted a data set that wasn't entirely prisoners' tattoos. So we scraped thousands of tattoos off the internet. We went to Amazon's Mechanical Turk, had them tagged and categorized. We also gave Mechanical Turk a quiz that said, if you wanted a tattoo, what would you get? What would be the significance of it, and where would you get it on your body? And then we took those two big data sets, we trained them against each other, created a third set, and at this point we said, this all sounds really great, Alice, can you describe what it is that you've built? And she came back with this. And it didn't really explain much to normal people. But what we started to get was that there were these light bulbs in our agency where people started to say, you know what? AI and machine learning was just these kind of words before she came in, but now they started to understand that machine learning is essentially finding patterns in big data sets, and in those patterns are insights, and in those insights, we're going to be able to make more and more interesting work. So machine learning is now a tool in their brains where they can't wait to, strategically and creatively, it's like, oh, I can't wait to get my hands on that, and I can't wait to see where we can get to. I was also hoping that we would have the website available by today. It's not quite out yet, but what we built on top of Alice's project was a website where you could go. You could plug in significance, so it's like travel or family or courage, something that has meaning or significance to your tattoo, where you want it on your body, and then 5 keywords to inspire the algorithm, and out of that you get an idea for a tattoo. So these are actual results. Of course, the machine doesn't know what it's saying. It doesn't really know words, but it's been trained to the point where it gets words. It's been trained to the point where it put words in context. It came out last week with something really interesting where it said, the house from the movie Up covered in blood. And we were like, I don't know how that came to that, but that's like an instance of it's like, oh wow, this is going to be able to take us into places and conversations that like we probably wouldn't get to on our own. So final slide. If you want people to change their behavior and try something new, if you're putting out, the world's greatest blank, make it fun and make it useful, and then communicate that as the value add. Transformation, I know, is an overused word, and it's kind of like the internet. It doesn't really mean anything anymore because it just means everything. But if you're changing, if you're innovating, if you're putting something out new, if you're responding to what's going on in the world, make sure that you have a point. Like the Ikea thing is a perfect example. Like, if you have a purpose, it's so much easier to product develop and communicate and have a successful company going forward. Trust drives adoption. People will not try your thing. They won't change their behavior unless they trust your brand. So that's something to keep in mind. And that goes into the next point, which is creativity needs diversity. You're not going to understand all the different viewpoints and all the different use cases that people are going to basically take from your product or service. So the more, diverse points of view and experiences and conversations that you have as you're developing or innovating, the more likely you are that will be successful in the long run. And then the last thing, which we haven't really brought up but definitely falls in here, is there's this idea of efficiency where there's this traditional way of going like, I'm going to do the research and development on my product or service, my innovation, and then we'll communicate it. And we see time and again with Google and Ikea and Uber, it's if you're doing something new, the earlier you get the communication in, the earlier you get the creative in, the earlier you start telling a story around it, the better off you're going to be in the long run. 10, 50, 100 times fold.